Fake dance instructors. Most people can't spot them, but we can. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 9 of Swing to the Rhythm. My name is Gilbert. This is Damon right here, co-host of our new show. Want to thank everybody for tuning in to episodes 1 to 8. We've heard a lot of great conversations, both positive and negative, of all of those episodes and feedback. And we're going to continue moving along with this series, bringing you the best in content of dancing in both country western and West Coast swing. Hey, what's going on, Damon?
How you doing, Gilbert?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm fired up.
First punch right there.
1-2 right here across. A lot of big boxing matches coming up.
For the haters out there, we didn't go anywhere. We've got a bunch of episodes yet to do.
Oh, yeah. Moving onward, we want to shoot at least 50 of these episodes. And there's a
I
lot.
thought it was 100.
Pull in the reins. I do all the editing, so.
Keep it up.
Yeah, right. There's so much material to talk about, so that's the beauty about dance. In episode 9, today, we're going to discuss about fake dance instructors. And I've been dancing for 10 years. Damon's been dancing for 40 years. And we've been teaching for that amount of time. So 50 years collectively. When I started dancing, I had no idea how to teach. Damon over here mentored me and showed me not just public speaking, but also techniques that are effective to get the audience engaged and learning immediately. Damon, I want to start this episode by asking, people spend money on dance lessons. How do they know if they get what they paid for?
Well, that's a multifaceted question. Start off by saying there are a lot of dance instructors out there that are offering great value. And for all of the ones that are out there offering great value, there are probably at least 10 to 1 that are not offering very much value. I believe it's not right. You believe it's not right. If you're just going for moves, new dancers are doing, especially leaders, and they want moves. They want to build their repertoire, right? So you go to somebody and you go, hey, I want this move, this move, this move. And then hopefully you're making an educated choice as to whether you continue to go to that instructor or not, based on their ability to break down and you actually leave with the content that they introduced. From what I understand, there's a whole bunch of brand new dance instructors out there are not doing anything about continuing education. They just want to be a teacher. That are taking people's money. I think it's robbery and taking people's money, and they don't really know how to explain things, but they're glad to take your money. As a student, when you go in, you need to be able to spot that. You need to be able to say, I got the moves, but they really couldn't give me the foundation of why it worked. And so why would you go back to that instructor again? But people tend to have loyalty to their instructor, even if the instructor is not great. Well, they don't have anything to compare it to. I think it largely comes down to student themselves. Because if the student goes into a lesson and they don't know what they want, they're leaving it up to the instructor. And so they're not necessarily leaving with what they went for. They didn't know what they were going for. Maybe they needed to have a better plan. Also, when you're a brand new dancer, you're like, I don't know what I'll work on. You might want to go in and just get moves. Sure. Or you might already have moves, but they're not going well. Or a lady might go in and she wants styling. One of the reasons why we decided to do this episode was to educate the student, actually educate teachers as well. Coming up here in the very near future where I'm going to be doing some teacher training coming up in Norway, which is really exciting. Student needs to know what they're after. You should look at the pro and say, this is what that pro is good at. This is what I want from that pro, where you may change your mind as to what you want from the next pro.
As they progress, then your style starts to change, your understanding starts to change.
You might want foundation from one particular set of instructors. You may want the styling of a bunch. Because everybody's journey is different. Everybody's going to look a little different as they grow because they like things over other things. And so, but your foundation needs to come from somebody who really understands dance and understands the physics of dance. Because in order to achieve a particular look, you have to do something very specific. You know what I mean? And if you're going to an instructor that's just throwing moves at you but can't explain to you how you move through space, what part of your foot you're using and why, and the result that it gets, then you're probably not going to get to the look that you were after.
And teaching is not easy. In the 10 years I've been teaching and in the 40 years that Damon has been teaching, the level of skill required to be able to break down information and to observe brand new dancers. Pinpoint.
Fix what they're doing, yeah.
That's not even the public speaking aspect of it. The public speaking aspect is a completely different element, for the group lessons, but also from the private lessons.
Right.
Being able to, a new person that has no idea what dancing is, not knowing the basic, not knowing the culture, not knowing the environment, not knowing the hobby, and then warmly introduced them to the whole experience as to what to expect, and not only just what to expect, but to how to apply the material that they're about to learn. There's so many elements involved with this.
Which we talk about in teacher training with our other instructors a lot, which is, recognizing a movement that you're going to introduce and knowing where the trouble spots are going to be so that you don't waste too much of the hour or however much time you have with that student on the surface stuff because you really want to get to this other thing. And sometimes that gets derailed because obviously a lot of times students go in and obviously leaders a lot want material that's above their head. And so because it's above their head, they go in and they want this thing. And then as a teacher, because we're trying to offer value, which we hope that dance instructors out there are trying to offer value, doesn't always seem to be the case. They just want money. But, offer value, that you're going to stumble onto things that they're not doing foundationally. And you're like, oh, well, I can't really show you the move that you really want to learn because you can't even do this. So let's talk about that. And then you're looking at your watch and you're like, you want to give them what they want? And so I always, have that conversation with people when they come into a lesson. I'm like, hey, I'm happy to work on what you want. We're going to find out along the way some things you need in order to be able to do what it is you want. I will always try to get to the thing in that lesson, and I don't ever want, and nobody can ever accuse me of trying to delay their learning. If they do, they got a problem. It's not me, because I'm not trying to delay anybody's learning. I'm trying to give every bit of me as I can in the time that I have with my students, and I know you do too. You know whether you're a righteous dance instructor or not, so we praise you. I have so many, dance colleagues that are fantastic instructors. This is not to take any away from them. This is the people out there, like you said, being fake dance instructors that are getting paid that shouldn't be getting paid. And if they have a desire to be a real dance instructor, they should be taking dance lessons and coaching from real dance instructors. And that seems to be falling by the wayside more and more. One of the points I was going to make is you go out there and you take a lesson from XYZ, this new instructor, and this new instructor is charging you, let's just round numbers, say they're charging you $100 for an hour, or worse yet, they're charging you $100 for 45 minutes, which I don't agree with, but they charge you $100 for 45 minutes, right? And you've got a pro 2 miles down the road that's charging $100 an hour for actual value. I would say that people need to look for the most qualified person in their area, because these are people who have taken the time and effort, studied under other people, actually had coaching from high-level coaches in the country world, and the Latin world, and the ballroom world, like really understand dance, and you're paying the same thing for someone who doesn't, who just knows how to do a few moves. And they could be quite good dancers, which I think is where the breakdown happens, because there's a whole lot of really great dancers out there that aren't necessarily great teachers. And some of them are very open about it. Oh, we don't teach. That's not our forte. And you watch them dance and you're like, I really wish you would teach and you taught the way you dance because you look fantastic. And they'll openly admit that that's not what they do. They're not the greatest teacher. Where these other folks, these up and coming dancers, seem to go, I can't teach and don't care. I just want your money and I'm going to pretend like I know how to teach, which there's a whole lot of that going on.
And it's not going to be instantaneous either. It took me about 2 to 4 years of dance instruction going out to country dance halls across Houston and across other states to get familiar with the experience of being out in a crowd. And these crowds, they're massive.
Yeah.
With some of these workshops where all of these attendees are going forever country, and other swing events like
80, 100 people in a workshop.
Swing-a-palooza, Wild Westy, you'll see 80 to 100 people, but the attendees at the event, they're like 3,000, 4,000 people, dancers for the entire weekend.
Sure.
Being in front of that amount of people, what suggestions do you have for a brand new person that has that desire, but they don't know where to get the experience?
I think if you really want to become a teacher, then you have to start taking private lessons, obviously on syllabus. First, you have to decide whose methods you want to follow. And you don't have to stick with that throughout your career, because you should be collecting information, which is what I did, coming up. I wanted to collect information from a bunch of very qualified sources and then make it my own, because I took pieces from each one, which is what it ended up happening. But I think you need to decide on a curriculum, and you need to stick with it for sure. In the beginning, and then it can change over time, and not to get curriculum and syllabus and foundation confused with styling, because you can attach any styling you want to any of those. And then on top of that, I think you need to take a whole lot of workshops and take it through the eyes of a teacher instead of the eyes of a student. How often do you take that class and question, why did they go about doing that way? Why did they talk about it that way? Why was there so much importance given to that particular part? Why did they do that? That must be a tricky part. And that instructor that knows more than I know about it knew that was a tricky part and really wanted to impress that upon those people. So it's like, so when you start to ask those questions, which I've talked to you about and talked to our other staff about, it's like when you're watching me teach a workshop, or teach a class weekly, because you'll have the opportunity to do that, I want you to question why I did that. And then someone in class goes, well, don't forget to tell them about that. I just think it's cute because it's like, I'm probably skipping over not telling them that particular thing because I realize that I need their focus to be elsewhere in the moment. And those are the things that you get over time as a true teacher. You start to figure out where the important parts are and what time should be spent on them.
What happens when you have to change plans quickly? How experience pays in those situations where maybe you have less time than you anticipated, or the class isn't getting the material that you're trying to teach, or people walk in late and disrupt the class, or your music's not working. All these issues and situations dance instructors experience all the times. And it sounds like repetition. You just need to go out there and rep it out and get that experience over the course of 50, 100, 150 times of teaching.
Right.
Yeah, build up that portfolio.
Another very, multifaceted question. I think about concepts when I think about teaching a class. Here at home, it's different because I pretty much know my audience, and so the beginner class is the beginner class. And so I'm going through systematically, foundational elements that I'm going to do from week to week in my two-step class or my, my West Coast Wing class. And so I'm on a schedule. You guys are on a schedule. You know pretty much what's going to happen week 1, week 2, week 3. And we could fall a little behind or move a little bit ahead depending on the group and how well they understand it, get it, and you're able to move on or not, right? When it comes to one-off workshops, which is really, I think, more the question that you're asking, and you're not familiar with your audience, you don't know their skill level as much, I will think about concepts that I want to do in that class, and I will think about either styling elements or techniques that I can talk to the more advanced people in the class while not leaving the people in the dust that aren't quite ready for that. So they can still do the basic concept of what I'm doing, but may not have the skill or the experience, whatever, to get the finer points. And ladies, turn your head this way, or if you lift this hip, or if you do this or you do that, or guys, if you do this, and push off your foot, and they're over there just going, I just need to learn the pattern, whatever. But also a lot of times when I go into a workshop, which happens when you've taught for a long, long time, like I have, and even you at this point, I don't necessarily go in knowing exactly what I'm going to teach. Always do a warm-up song, and I watch, or 2 warm-up songs. You'll have stragglers come in that are missing that very important first couple of words. And so I'll let them dance for, the first 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of class. One of the other reasons why I don't like 45-minute lessons. And I'll be like, this is kind of the overall skill level in here, and I may make an adjustment as to what I was going to teach, or at least how much I was going to teach. So I was going to do a this into that, into a this, into a that, because I wanted to teach a whole phrase. And then I wanted to sneak in at the end, let's say West Coast Swing, even two-step, that I wanted to do it to the phrasing. And I wanted to give them a phrase, and I wanted to hit accents in the music. So I was going to teach a phrased section, or whatever. And I like to try to get to the end of the phrase section. I may not be able to get to the end of the phrase section. If I go in there with something that's over too many people's heads, I might only get to a couple of the moves instead of getting through the whole thing. They didn't know that initially because I didn't necessarily let the cat out of the bag, but we didn't get as far, and that's totally okay too, because you need to make that adjustment. And I really want, a 95 to 99, 100% success rate from the people in the class. I don't want anybody leaving like they didn't get their money's worth. I don't want anybody leaving like they can't understand the pattern that I taught, the sequence that I taught. So I'm really trying to accomplish that every time. Just so y'all know out there, ballroom world likes to overcharge for dance lessons. It's just a fact of life. That's what happened. Instead of giving you hour lessons, they would give you 45-minute lessons. Part of that was because you can't get anything done in 45 minutes. So what they did was they charged you the same amount of money for a 45-minute lesson as they were for an hour lesson before they went to 45s. So you would basically basically be forced to do 2 sessions of 45 minutes.
Sales.
Right, it's sales. It's sales based. And so if you're a person that's just doing, well, I only have money for one, as soon as you get started, you're in there, you're getting warmed up, 10 minutes is gone, you're wrapping up at the end, they're gonna go, they need that break between their next lesson, and you end up with 30 minutes of instruction, which isn't enough to do anything. So most people bite the bullet and end up getting 2 sessions, right? But when new instructors go in, I believe that they're probably, they have a plan. This is what we decided we were going to do, because they're probably still a little bit nervous, which is totally normal, and you need to face that because it's going to only make you better faster. So face your fears, which is what you did.
Yep.
I've told that story before, and I'll tell it probably until the day I die, that the first time you taught, I said, how'd it go? You said, I was scared to death.
Crazy.
When can I do it again? And I was like, yes. And so, but I mean, not everybody's up for that. Some people are scared and run from it. We've had several instructors that have done that with us, and they're like, I don't ever want to teach at the club again. That was a crazy experience. So sometimes newer instructors go in and they go, this is what I'm going to teach. And they're willing to move on without people grasping what they taught. And a lot of times the reason why instructors, and a telltale sign that your instructor may not have the substance they need to teach the patterns that they're showing you, or what you requested even, is their tendency, you'll find, is to always go to a new pattern, 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 because they can't speak intelligently or technically about the material they're showing you now. So even though you haven't grasped what they're doing, they're out of ways to explain it just for sheer lack of experience. And so they're going to go, there's 30 minutes left in this hour, and I've already said everything I know how to say about this, and you're still not being able to do it. Oh, I got this cool other move. You want to learn that? Well, people are like, yeah, squirrel. And especially leaders, they're like, give me another move. And I'm like, well, you don't own the one that you were just trying. Yeah. And so I think that happens a lot. So if they go move after move after move after move, it's typically because they can't speak very, technically about the movements they already shown.
I'm glad you shared that, because when you hear the word fake instructor, that's one of the signs. And then for other people, of course, it's buyer beware. It's not just dance instruction. In other industries, when you go to a telemarketer call, you have no idea who it is. Right. When you go out to the car dealership, the list is endless.
Yeah, buyer beware. Need a dance instructor app where they're rated. Yeah. Oh, this person's got 1.5 stars, and they're the same price as this person that has 5 stars.
5 stars, yeah.
Well, why would you go to the 1.5 star person? They don't have the internet.
They don't.
I don't know.
At the end of the episode, there was one last thing that came to my attention as we were doing this. Dance instruction isn't always about dancing. It's about having the confidence to persevere and to go out there and keep going. Whether you're going to mess up, this is brand new, public speaking, all eyes are on you. That's tough.
Yeah, and some people have the confidence to go out there and do that, even though they don't have the talent, the skills, or the information.
So how can you tell if the person's just very confident, or if they actually know what they're talking about?
I don't think you're able to know until you get a lesson from them. But I would say not agree to buying a package of lessons from someone that I had never taken a lesson from. I don't expect anybody to do that with me.
Yeah, to go all in and buy 10.
They haven't even had a lesson with me. You're going to give me 10 lessons worth of money, and you don't know whether I can teach or not. You don't know if I'm going to give you what I'm capable of giving you what you're after. I would say, buy a one-off lesson. And then it's not about hurting that instructor's feelings. It's about your money. And you don't have to be ugly about it. You just, our scheduling doesn't work out, whatever it is. But you don't need to feel pressured to take more lessons from an instructor you didn't get value from the first time. There's no reason to do that. There are qualified dance instructors out there. This sounds harsh, whatever, and we're always going to get people that act like I'm too honest. I'm just being honest. This is how I feel.
It is a competitive marketplace out there.
It is. I don't say any of this to deter anybody from being a dance instructor. I motivated you to be a dance instructor. I've motivated a bunch of people to become dance instructors, because I want them to do that. I just want them to be righteous about their craft. And in every walk of life and in every business out there, if you're a school teacher, I've heard school teachers talk about other teachers and say they should not have their teaching certificate. Whatever. If you're an accountant, if you're a this or you're a that, there are people in every industry that don't have the fortitude to excel at the career that they're in or that they've chosen. And so it's like, we hope that you seek out the people who are more passionate about what they're doing and want to continue learning. And I pride myself in trying to collect the best information out there. And the conversation we were having earlier, it's like I had somebody attack me today, on a post or whatever, and ask me, when's the last time you took a private lesson? And they have no idea. They won't take as many private lessons in their life as I've taken. There's no way. From ballroom coaching to Latin coaching to salsa coaching to hustle coaching to West Coast swing coaching to country coaching, a continual learner. I learn all the time. I've just reached a certain level of understanding when I watch things that I can see, different pros out there. I mean, as you know, when we do move of the week or whatever, I'll take on the styling of the pro that we're featuring.
I've done those side-by-side clips where you
Right.
cut your interpretation and the pro's interpretation.
Right.
And people online, you could go check those out. We have videos side-by-side comparison.
And I'm trying really hard to do that. Not only that, but I have students who travel and compete who come back and say they've taken a workshop and show me a workshop video or show me even their private lesson that they had with these pros. And I get to hear that in addition to me sitting in on countless other people's workshops as they've come up and hosting many workshop weekends here on my own, bringing in various pros from country to ballroom to West Coast swing. Sit in and listen to those to understand their ideology. And I've gained so much knowledge from that. And I like something somebody says, and I try to pay it forward. I've learned so much from Kyle and Sarah, from Kyle Red, Sarah Van Drake. I've learned so much from Jordan and Tatiana. I've learned so much from other pros out there, that I've watched and learned from Michael Kilbasa, bringing him in, working with him, watching him teach. Catchphrases that he uses, analogies that they use, and that I've adopted. And I always try to pay that forward because I believe it goes a long way, and I feel like they deserve that type of recognition. I didn't come up with all this on my own, and people ask, it's my collection, and I do the best that I can to use that collection to better people's dancing as fast as I possibly can without an ounce of holdback in me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to deter any of you instructors out there that want to be instructors, but if you're going to be an instructor and you're going to take people's money, be righteous. Seriously, you need to get some coaching. Stop acting like you can teach people how to dance and taking their money if you're not getting coaching from someone that's better than you. You're literally robbing people. That's what's actually happening.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Episode 9 of Swing to the Rhythm. And shout out to everybody that joined us for our 2-step lessons yesterday.
After a 2-year break.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a big class, big intermediate class,
And
big
beginner
crash
class.
course, big beginner class last night. It was so nice to be teaching 2-step again. I took a hiatus from doing that, was a little upset about the way the 2-step world is going. Also want to give a big shout out to Steven Spillman and Lacey Ware and Forever Country. You guys are killing it. I couldn't be more proud of you guys for what you're doing with the new dance circuit that you've created. A step up, definitely, from what has been happening over the last few years. And I can't thank you enough for having bar dancers come in and enticing them and encouraging them and actually getting them to enter into actual 2-step contests. You single-handedly have really revived 2-step within the younger generation and the bar dancers, and I can't thank you enough. Honestly, thank you so much. I can't wait to be there at Forever Country coming up later this year.
Yeah. Check the description because we have our second book coming out, Damon's Be a Better West Coast Swing Dancer Faster. And check out our first book and also check out the 10 for 10 Anchor Challenge.
Yeah, you want that.
Along with any other courses and products that we released.
2-step masterclass coming out soon.
Yep.
15 individual lessons of sequences for you to learn to dance on your own and definitely to use in your studio or to become a better teacher. You can pull right from there. People don't even know you're using my material, but I'll tell you, it will help you become a better teacher of 2-step immediately.
And lastly, we hit 74,000 followers on Facebook. We continue to see those numbers rise. Boom.
That's a large part because of this dude right here.
We're going for 100,000 soon.
Continue to comment and share our information. And always, when you comment in there, we're going to try to get back to you. We've got so many comments, and we appreciate it. And we'll get back to you in there. And if you have a genuine question about something, that's fine. Those of you that come at me hard and you want to act like I don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to get the same in return. I love to argue on topics that I'm more knowledgeable about than you. But if you want to have a debate about it, I'm down. If you you want to have a civilized conversation about it, I'm down. I do everything that I do for a reason. I'm not faking anything. So if you want to know why I choose a particular method over another, I'm happy to explain to you why I've chosen to teach the way that I do. So you want to be ugly, that's fine. I'll be ugly back. You want to have a civil conversation, I'll do that too. Thank you, Gilbert. I appreciate you a whole bunch.